Good day, Brutal Planet listeners. This is Eric Peterson, and today we have a special treat for you. The German band Helloween has been around since 1984, and our guest today is guitarist Sascha Gerstner. How are you doing today, Sascha?
Hi there. I'm doing good. I'm doing fine.
Ha-
Everything's okay under these
wh-
circumstances.
where are you joining us from?
Germany, Berlin.
Oh, nice. And how are things over there?
Well, like almost everywhere, like lockdowns on and
Yeah,
off, and um, no concerts, no live
yeah,
shows,
yeah,
so all that stuff. Yeah, but well, I mean, I'm guessing that we all like in the Western world are very privileged, kind of,
yeah.
and life goes on. So I just wish this stuff to be over at
I
one
don't.
point,
I agree 100%. I agree.
Yeah, that's
So,
all. It's kind of like you're in this tunnel and you're like searching for the end of the tunnel and you just want to get out of this. So that's all what it
exactly.
is right now.
So when was the last time you played live?
In 2019, we played our last show in Rock in Rio Festival with
Wow.
Scorpions and Whitesnake.
So
So
it's been a while.
it's been a while, and we went straight into the studio for pre-production and recording this album, and yeah, so yeah, and then when we've been finished, this pandemic hit. We wanted to go on
Yeah.
tour with this, and yeah, so yeah.
So I was gonna ask you. The band itself has gone through a few lineup changes over the years, but still held pretty true to its roots. How have things been over for you over the years in the band with some of the changes?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, the last change that I was able to see was when Kai Hansen and Michael Kiske came back. Before
Yeah.
that, it was like maybe I think 15 years of a stable lineup.
Mm-hmm.
I joined the band in 2003, and then we went through different drummers by that time. And yeah, and then Danny Löble, he came in as the permanent drummer
Yeah.
in 2005. So yeah, and since then it's been a very stable lineup until 2016, and then yeah, and then we had like the first talks about this reunion thing.
And how has it been since the reunion?
I'm great. Man, I have to tell you, it's a bigger family now.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was, like if you stay together as a band for in a stable lineup for like 15, 16 years, it feels like it's your second family.
Yeah.
You're going on tour, you spend a lot of time together, you're in the studio, it's just amazing. And then of course, I knew Kai Hansen for a long time before that. I mean, I saw him the first time when I was 19 years old, when I was doing the first like power metal record with my first power metal band.
Nice.
And so I know him for a long time, and then we did the Hellish Rock 1 and Hellish Rock 2 tours
Mm-hmm.
with Gamma Ray, and so there was nothing new about that, having Kai on board.
Yeah.
And as it goes from Michael Kiske, that was like meeting him like in the first meeting, we had an instant connection. These two guys, they were just complimenting us.
Yeah.
It just feels complete now.
Good.
It's just like a bigger family, um, lots of ideas, of course, and but even more energy. And we figured that it's a good thing on tour as well. We just saw like on tour it was a blast. We started in Mexico and ending in Rock in Rio, and it was like a period for like 2 years or something, and then just great times. And that's why we ended up to continue that way.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, your guys are almost like Iron Maiden on stage now with three guitar players, right?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. And I mean that's good. They're pioneers. They made it, and we saw that will work.
Yeah.
So it worked for us as well. I mean, you know what? It comes down to personalities and to um being mature with each other, you know,
Yeah.
and getting along, and that's what it's all about. Like if you want to play together, you know, since kindergarten, you know, back then nobody wanted to play with someone who isn't cool, and
Yeah.
so we're all cool. We're cool with each other, you know. So that's why it works, you know. It almost sounds too romantic to make rock and roll, but you know what I mean. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, I know
it's
what you
it's
mean.
it's.
So if
I'm
you had
guessing that for Maiden, it's the same thing.
so if you had to pick yourself as one of the Maiden guitar players, which one would you be?
Oh, that's hard to say. I'm not a big Maiden fan, so
Okay.
I can't even tell you who I would be. So I'm not
Okay.
like that would be a question for Michael
Oh, okay.
or Kai maybe. You know.
So I wanted to ask you too, would you say it's a fair assessment that Helloween pretty much had paved the way for the power metal genre?
I heard so.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like, back from the original stuff, I feel like they pretty much carved the way, along with some other bands. But I feel like Halloween was like the band that pretty much gave the great vocals and the melodic riffs and that kind of stuff a name. And to me, that's paved the way for a lot of other bands too.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. And then also, you know, the funny part is that a lot of bands are trying to get into that realm of twin guitar melodies and all this stuff, you know, and high pitched
Hmm.
vocals and stuff. The funny thing is that like from the roots, when you talk to Kai, of course, there is a lot of Judas Priest involved, you know,
Yeah,
and but then you have like Andy, who had like this big hard rock background, and then coming off from Pink Cream '69, and then you have
hmm,
um, Michael Weikath, who is a lover of Beatles and '60s music. So the influences
yeah,
are like very far back. You had like old Deep Purple, and then Marcus, for instance, he's a punk rock fan. You know,
hmm,
he loves punk music and he loves the Ramones and stuff like that. And so when you go back in time, it's a lot of like new wave and prog rock and stuff like that. So when you combine all that, you're generating something instead of I would say maybe something with originality, you know. So make it more original instead of like copying something that's already there. And I'm thinking from what I know about all the guys in the band, that's what they did back then.
yeah.
They had like their old school influences, and they were like, okay, let's do this just a little bit faster.
Yeah, yeah, and I think when it comes down to it, I mean, you talk about the screaming vocals and the high pitched vocals. There's not really a lot of people that do it better than Michael Kiske.
That's true. That's true. I mean,
You know,
just I saw a video, like a vocal reaction video on YouTube a while ago, and I had goosebumps. I was thinking, man, he was back then. He was 17 years old
I know,
when he
I know.
was when he was singing in the studio, and nowadays sometimes you have people telling you that their kids are very talented and they're 25 or something or
Yeah,
28 or whatever, and I'm just thinking, wow, Michael, he was 18, 17, 18 years old
hmm,
when Keeper One was recorded, and that's crazy. And I mean, back then maybe there was only Geoff Tate, or
yeah,
you know, who
yeah,
could do something like that. You know, I
yeah,
mean, Bruce Dickinson is another. He has a different style though,
yeah,
but
and same
you
with
know,
like
but maybe
Rob
back
Halford.
then exactly. So maybe in that type of voice, you there was probably only Michael and Geoff Tate. You know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, that takes us to this year, the new album, self-titled album, which is amazing to me because this is like your what 15th album or something like that, and we're finally getting around to a self-titled album.
That's yeah. That's well. It just makes sense, you know.
Yeah,
Because now that we've been on tour for a long time together, it's a 7 piece, and when we heard like the songs and everything fell into place with the recordings and so during the mixing session, we just came up with that idea because it just feels complete and it
yeah,
makes sense. I mean, on the album you have like the best of all the band's eras, I would
hmm,
say, you know. So, of course, a lot of people talking about a reunion album, so they would guess like, okay, this is like a Keeper of the Seven Keys Part Three or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. I mean, there's a lot of since Michael left the band and Kai, there were a lot of years passing by with great albums. And Andy was the main songwriter too,
Hmm.
and you know, you have a lot of stuff happening in between, and so we thought like, how can we combine like the old school vibe with the modern approach, and also covering like the style we had throughout more than 35 years, right? So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
that's why it makes sense to call it Helloween.
Yeah. Yeah. So how what was the recording like for you guys? Did you actually get in to record before the shit hit the fan, or did you like was it right in the middle of it?
No, we started before that. We
Okay.
went off tour, and then we started in October 2019. We started
Okay.
with the pre-production,
Hmm.
and yeah, and then that was a newbie for us as well, because we before that we used the internet to sending ideas back and forth, you know, in the albums
Hmm.
before. But that time we decided to do it like in the old days, you know, just getting back together in one room,
Nice.
and then, you know, we would have demos before, of course. We would have like each songwriter has had written songs, but
Hmm.
um, we just wanted to try out stuff, you know, and changing song tempos or giving like melody ideas, or so we were kind of we've been pretty unprepared.
Yeah.
You know, we went into that. Marcus said, "Let's do it in the old days. Let's go in the rehearsal room, and then, you know, nobody's prepared, and we see what's gonna happen." That's how we did it, basically, with a little help with two great producers and management, and you know, so it's over the years it's a big family, you know.
Yeah.
With Charlie Bauerfeind, we worked for such a long time now. He knows us very well, and our management is great for us. They it's all a big family, and so that's how we also decided the songs that will end up on the record. You know,
Okay.
all of us
And then
listening back and forth, and
I have to ask about the album cover because one of the most epic part of Halloween albums is the album covers.
yeah.
How did you guys come up with that cover?
Well, we've been talking about that before when we're going to make an album. What the artwork is going to be, because we had in the past lots of CGI stuff
Hmm.
happening, and we wanted to get more into back to the old tradition, and having like a real artwork on top. I mean, you know, like back then, you of course know that from the vinyl days,
Yeah.
um, having like a real artwork in your hands made gave the whole thing more worth,
Yeah. Oh
kind of.
yeah. Oh
You know what
no,
I mean?
not
Or
there was no
value,
kind of
value.
about it. Yes, it did.
Yeah. So and we thought like, okay, if we're coming up with this album, which obviously will have get a lot of attention, the album cover is kind of a promise, you know, because you
Hmm.
normally you would go that way, that you make the album cover and you release the album cover first, so fans can see what it's going to be
Yeah.
before they hear any music, you know. And so we just thought it's going the traditional way and having a real artist, Elvin Cantor, who was painting that, painting the album cover, also including like all the eras of the band,
Yeah.
um, is like a promise. And we thought like, okay, the music will stand up to that promise, hopefully. So, and yeah, that's why we came up with that.
So then diving into the album, are there songs for you? I mean, I listened to the album and there's some songs that stand out to me is above a bar above. Are there any songs for you that stand out for you?
Um, well, a couple of songs. I mean, of course, you have this like epic um, monster song, Skyfall. You know,
Yeah.
Kai was working like the whole production on that song, and he added more parts and more parts and more parts, and then it became this like huge song. You know, that's a great thing. And also, I think Glory is a great opener for the album, which I like.
Yeah.
Michael Weikert has written that, and yeah, I mean, a couple of great songs that would stick out to me. I mean, the whole album. You must know when we finished the record, that's what you normally do as an artist. You go out of the studio and then you don't listen to it again.
Exactly.
You're like, you're done, and
Yeah.
you're so deeply into the creation that you can't even say if it's good or not.
Yeah.
It's more like we felt like we did something great, but we didn't actually know, and still we don't know how the fans will react. But so far, from what we can tell, they're reacting very well. But so you're going out of the studio, you don't listen to your songs, and then when we had like the first streaming with journalists, I was able to listen through the whole album for the first time again since I left the studio. And that was like the first moment when I thought like, wow, okay, that's crazy. I mean, that's from like the beginning to the end. It's just very powerful. And so it's impressive. It's hard to pick like one song that stands out very much, except the obvious with Skyfall, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, like, so the video shoot for that, what was that like for you guys?
Oh, it was crazy because there was a lot of like green screening happening.
Yeah.
When you stand there, there's green screen. You have to kind of imagine how it will look in the end, so that your movements don't look weird and stuff.
Yeah.
But you must know that that was COVID times already. So when we recorded that, we didn't see each other for a couple of months. So basically, meeting there, it was more of a family happening. Like everybody was very excited that we would see each other again.
Okay.
And then on the side, we were like producing this music video, which was like in the end, it was like for Martin who did the production, was I think 6 months of work to do all that with animation and
I mean, it's a very fun video. I love the video, and the song itself is, I mean, you guys picked a perfect song to to put out to the fans right away. I mean, that's a great song for that.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's just like if you go from like the album artwork and then having Skyfall being the first single, again, as I'm saying, like everything you release in pieces, it's more, it's a kind of a promise, like so fans get a clue what it could be, and so I'm just thinking that we would continue that way, and then also making that song was perfect to making such a music video. And as you said, it's a fun video to watch. It's Helloween was always about positive feelings and a bit of 80s cheesiness.
Yeah.
So we always kind of need that a little bit. And yeah, we're entertainers, so it's a very entertaining piece of music, I think.
And so for me, some of the standout, I mean, the whole album to me is great, but some of the standouts, like Fear of the Fallen, I love Fear of the Fallen. That's a great song. And Mass Pollution, I love Mass Pollution. That's a great song.
Absolutely. Andy is a great songwriter. I mean, that was like the biggest impact I've got when I joined a band, to join a band with amazing songwriters. And Andy, he's a songwriting machine. He can like kind of bring up songs every day if he wanted to, and so he always writes great songs. I love his songs and I love to play them. Yeah.
So do you know like some of the meaning like behind Mass Pollution?
Actually, I'm not very much in the lyrics right now with the songs Andy has written.
Okay.
But I'm thinking that would be a good opportunity for you to have another interview with Andy,
I would
about
love
his
to.
songs.
I'd love to.
So he's a good guy. Yeah.
So are you planning on dropping another single before the album release?
There will come up a couple of singles now. Okay. I mean, there's Fear of the Fallen will be the next one, which will come up on Friday.
Okay.
And it's just a lyric video, but that's another single we will bring up. And then Best Time will be a single we will bring up in summer.
Great song.
With a very special music video. I can't talk about that yet, but That would be great too. And yeah, and then of course the album will hit in June, and yeah, and then let's just hope that we can go on tour next year. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny because you talk about releasing singles as a promise, and me as a fan, and probably I speak for other fans too, is it's more of a tease.
Yeah, that's maybe the proper word for that. You know, yes,
It's like
you
here's a
know,
little bit for you.
yeah. You know, that makes sense. I mean, that's a word for that. You know,
Yeah.
you have to know. It's not my native language,
No, no,
so
I understand. I
you know,
understand.
but yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's more of a tease. Yeah, that's true.
It's like the girl you're dating, and she gives you just a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then the album releases, and you're like, yes.
Yeah, of course, and especially nowadays, you know, when there's so much going on online, and a lot of bands are releasing music, and I mean, what should they do right now if they can't go on tour? You know,
Exactly.
so
Exactly.
everybody's doing something, so it makes sense to tease people a little bit, you know. So
So what about tour? I mean, is 2021 pretty much a done deal? No tours for you guys?
yeah, no tours this year, and also it's a lot of preparation, you know, like we're planning a lot of stuff for the live show, and I mean, right now it's hard to plan timing, you know,
Yeah.
but if everything goes well, we might hit the streets next year in April, starting in Europe,
Nice.
and so yeah, and then let's see how everything is developing. You know, I'm like right now, I'm kind of scared of telling people, hey, we will come
No,
on tour
yeah, I
here and
get
there,
it.
and you know, it's just like I just hope, you know, because I just miss to go on stage. I miss the touring. I
Exactly.
miss meeting all the people. I miss. I even miss like the boring times sitting for hours at an airport.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just the whole thing, you know. If you're a musician for your whole life, that's what you breathe
Yeah,
every day. You
exactly.
want to go on stage and you want to play and you want to interact with people, and that's what I'm really missing right now.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time, Sasha. I love the new album, and everybody go pick up the new self-titled um, album from
Yeah,
Helloween on
thank you,
the
man.
18th, correct? On June
Yeah, I think
18th.
so. Yes.
The last thing I wanted to ask you before we end is are you guys planning any special release day party or anything like that?
Well, I mean, right now it's really hard to
Yeah.
plan parties, you know.
Yeah.
So and then also like the whole band is living across Europe,
Oh, okay.
spread out, you know, in Europe. Yeah, that would be something for normal times.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
man, as I said, like for me, the release party will start when we can
Yeah.
go on stages again. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
like
Exactly.
having the party with the fans together. That would be great.
Well, I'm hoping you can hit the US because I would love to see the live show. So,
Yeah, I think that will happen. Hopefully, I think so. I think
yeah.
so.
Yeah.
If everything goes back to normal, then of course we're trying to play everywhere we can. So
Good. Good.
yeah,
Well, Sasha, I appreciate your time and thank you for telling us a little bit about the album. And everybody, go pick it up when it comes out because you will love it. So,
oh great, thanks, man.
thank you. Talk to you later.
Take care.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye.